they were very nice. They were just kind of like, like a girl, like who are you? Like what do you want? I could kind of sense that from his mom. And then his dad was just like, you have somebody? Like, whoa, you did it. Kind of a thing. But do you remember your feelings when I first, were you nervous to bring me to your house? Hello and welcome to another video. I am Kytia L'amour and this is my husband,
Jerrell.
And we are continuing on our love story journey. You guys have really been liking this series, which makes me happy because I like our story. Do you like our story?
I do.
And it's cool to relive it. It's a lot of things, a lot of emotions, a lot of memories, a lot of trying to remember the details. But fortunately, there's two of us, so there's two people who can try to remember all the details. So last time, well, our first video was our first impressions of each other. I'm gonna link I made a playlist for our love story, so I'll link that above. So the first one was our first impressions of each other when we first met. The second one was our first date, which happened to us. It wasn't something we chose, it happened to us. God did that. And the third thing, which is today, is we're going to be talking about our long distance relationship. So we started officially dating, like we said in our last video, on his birthday, January 12th, 2009. And we were married September 12th, 2009 in that same year. So between that process was a lot of flying back and forth, a lot of meeting each other's family. So we're going to say kind of what that was like. One of the first things that we did to meet each other's family was I was already scheduled to see my brother who lived in Florida. So my dad and my brother at that time lived in Florida and I was going to see them, and then my mom was going to come to see my brother too because he had just bought a house. And we were like, what you need, let me hook you up, let me help you, we rearrange your furniture, what we doing. So we went to his house and met his girlfriend, and then so it was us, my mom, my brother and his girlfriend, and we were all in the house like a little Brady Bunch. But the way that trip even came about was I was already scheduled, like I said, to see my brother after we were in an official relationship. Hold up, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, first things first. Okay, this was kind of interesting how this worked out. So we were officially boyfriend and girlfriend on his birthday, January 12th. Then my friends who had already gone to California with me when I first met him, they were going again. So I think they were going to make it an annual thing. It only happened twice, but this was the second installment of the West Coast tour with all these artists. So I wasn't scheduled to go. They had somebody else going with their whole group. I was like, I don't need to go again. But when I posted a relationship status update on MySpace saying we're in a relationship, the guy who was putting the trip on, like the leader of the pack basically, he was like, wait a minute, what? Like, you guys are dating? Wait, what? And then he was just like, I have to talk to you, like, call me. So I talked to him and he was like, guess what? Someone who was gonna come on the trip, she got sick, she can't go, so you can take her place. He thought that somehow through the airline we'd be able to just swap names and like keep the ticket or whatever. That is not how it works. I don't know if it's ever how it worked, but if you know that you have bought a plane ticket and you want to change anything about it, it is a hassle. Usually there's fees, usually you lose money. So anyways, I was like, oh cool, like he must know what he's talking about, he travels. So I'm like, guess what, Jerrell? He said that I can come, like, but I have to pack tonight. It was literally like that day. He was like, we're leaving tomorrow, you'd have to pack tonight. So I had to call my job and say, hey, is it okay if I skip town for a little bit and I come back? I'm in the middle of a project, but I promise I can get it done. I called my mom and I'm like, nothing's wrong, but I have to go to California. Is it okay with you? And she was like, baby, you could go. Like, why are you going? But baby, you can go. And I told her the whole thing. And then we're talking and I'm packing when I get home because everybody said yes. And then we called the airline and they were like, you can't do that. That's not how it works. After hours of trying to figure it out, he was like, you know what if I just bought your ticket? Because I was like, okay, it didn't work out. I guess I'm just going to have to unpack and stay home. But then he decided that he was going to buy my ticket so that I could come out. You take it away. Like, what was your side of like, we're in a relationship, she might be coming this month? Like, what happened?
I was supposed to be involved because that was when the show in Long Beach happened.
Oh yeah.
So I was already coordinating with them, and I got him a venue hookup with people that I worked with out in Long Beach. So I had two locations, two venues that they were going to be having a show at. The main one and then the secondary one. So
he was doing a great job.
So I was involved with them on the trip. So you coming along was like an expected thing.
Do you know if you were already going to stay at their
No, I wouldn't have been staying there.
Okay, so every time that they went, they would get a big rental house so that everybody could stay at one place and pitch in on the rent. And so neither one of us was supposed to be there. So he ended up coming, and then that was when we first started spending time with each other as a couple, and I was so nervous because we had never been boyfriend and girlfriend in real life yet, in person. So I remember expectations versus reality when you're like, oh my gosh, when we see each other, I'm gonna run and jump in his arms and we're gonna spin around and we're gonna kiss. And that was like far from how it went. I didn't even see him for the first 2 or 3 days that I was there, and I was upset at you for that because he had to work. He couldn't come down to Anaheim, which is where we were staying. And then I was like, I'm here, and like he doesn't even want to see me, so I don't even know if you know that, but I was a little upset. But we finally see him because we went to Denny's, and me and the other Hawaii people, we went to Denny's and he was meeting us there, but it was like around the time we were leaving. Do you remember if you came inside?
You guys were leaving. I did not come inside because I had like a gift bag or something for you, and then I was in the car getting out, and then you ran over. They were driving, and then you were driving with me.
Yeah.
And we were going to somewhere after.
Okay. So yeah, after Denny's, I ran up to him in the parking lot, I guess, to his car. But it was like really awkward. Like I remember being like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do. Hi. Like it was just like we had been talking back and forth for months. But I got like so like I clammed up and I just didn't know what to say. So I got in his car, and my Hawaii friends, they were all in a van because we rented a van so that we could get around together. And then we ended up going on an excursion by ourselves, right? Or did you come to the house?
I'm pretty sure we went to the house.
So maybe I just drove with him to get to the house, and he probably had his bags and stuff. And then we ended up staying in a room because this wasn't planned, and it probably should have been like different. In looking back on it, should have been different. He probably should have been on the couch. I don't know, was somebody else sleeping on the couch already? Because there was a living room in this house, and now I'm thinking about it, I think someone was staying in the living room because there would be nights where it'd be like, okay, so-and-so has to go to sleep. We can't all be hanging out here because they're sleeping out here. So maybe that's what it was or something. But we ended up staying in like one of the rooms that was kind of modeled out to be like a kid's room. So it was a bunk bed. So bed on the bottom, bed on the top, and then like little kid books to read. I think we even read some of those to each other and like watched movies on the TV. But I was in the top bunk and he was in the bottom bunk, and we didn't sleep together. And we kept the door open, but then people thought it was funny to keep coming and closing the door because they knew like we weren't trying to be about anything crazy, but they would think it was funny to just be like, ha ha ha, like close the door, like you guys are in there with the door closed or something. But we just kept opening up the door. But yeah, there wasn't anything crazy going on in there, but it was weird to be sharing a room like roommates already. And then after that, I know there was a time where I met your parents. I think that must have been the first time I ever met his parents, was on that trip, going to his house, and I'm like, oh, this is his house, this is his room, these are his parents, and saying hello and being awkward about it because I didn't really know them or how to introduce myself, or like the whole thing where you're like, okay, these are gonna be my in-laws, but like, how do I not come on too strong kind of a thing. So I just remember it being just a little awkward, but they were very nice. They were just kind of like, like a girl, like who are you? Like what do you want? I could kind of sense that from his mom. And then his dad was just like, you have somebody? Like, whoa, you did it, kind of a thing. But do you remember your feelings when I first, were you nervous to bring me to your house?
Yeah, because I think the thing that I told you before is that there was always, in my life, there was like my friends, whether it's high school or college, and then it was family. Was it neither the twain shall meet kind of a thing? Where there never was a lot of overlap.
Those two worlds do not.
It was very
intersect.
separate. There was like maybe one family of friends that were really close, and they knew my family. Usually they didn't overlap. So it was always awkward, like, oh, these two worlds are colliding, they're overlapping, and how's that gonna go? I'm trying to remember, that was the first time you met them?
Yeah, and I
Because the
think I met
Denny's
your
thing,
sisters
when
too.
IHOP, that was later on your, like, you had a flight and your mom.
Oh, that was in
that
March.
was
So
in
we'll
March,
talk about
okay.
that one next. It was awkward for you, but
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
excited.
awkward. It was awkward, but yeah, I was really excited to actually have a person to introduce them to.
Yeah, and I think later we found out after we had been together for a while, like some of his family were kind of like, oh, it's puppy love, like it probably won't amount to anything. It's his first girlfriend, and we were just like, no, like this is serious, take it seriously. But I understand if it's like the first girl they've ever met, what are the odds that that's going to be his wife kind of a thing. And this whole long distance, I don't know if that could work out. A lot of people doubted that, but it did work out. So that was my first time meeting his family. And then you met my family. This is March. This is a trip I had already planned. I think I was saying like, oh, I'm gonna go for a week or so to see my brother. And I think it was your idea. You asked me like, do you want me to come?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
And I was just like, you would do that? You would like meet my family? That would be so cool. And I had to ask my brother like, is it okay if like this grown man that you've never met, my boyfriend, actually comes with me? So he ended up getting his ticket.
I
And
had a question.
what?
Is this how it happened? Because this thing I'm just gonna say right now. You had the idea about like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I had when I'm going to see my brother, if I had a layover and we had like a whole day or like a 6-hour, 12-hour thing where you spent time with me, right? And then it was like, oh, it'd be so great because we want to see each other and we don't see each other until every other month. So this was like, oh, this is a great plan. Like if this works out, that'd be great, and we were so excited. But then it became well, what if I went with you?
Yeah, I guess that's how it even got introduced, was just talking about having a long layover, the longest layover I possibly could, so that I could spend time with him. But then it ended up being he could come, and my brother was like, cool beans. So we ended up staying with my brother, and he had one room upstairs that was like really huge. I think it used to be 2 bedrooms, but they knocked a wall down, so it was like a really big master suite basically. And then me, Jerrell, and my mom all stayed in the room like a little slumber party. So I think he was on an air mattress in the room like towards the foot of our bed, and me and my mom shared a bed. And that's how we slept. And it was like weird being on so many different time zones. Like I'm in Hawaii time zone, he's in LA time zone, and we're having allergies because my brother had a cat, and the cat keeps trying to sneak in at night, and it's like, how are you in the bed? Like, get away from us. So it was cool, like him getting to meet my brother. And I think we landed at night, and then the next morning my brother asked you if you wanted to go to the store.
Yeah.
And he went, and I was like, oh, he went, like, because he could have been like, well, I don't have a lot of time with your sister, but I don't want to go with you. So he still went. They went to the store to get some stuff. And then you did meet my dad. Okay, so I don't know if that was the next day or a few days later. Like I introduced him to my dad, and they seemed to hit it off, and my dad was really nice about it. And I think it was just really cool that they got to meet, because you'll see in our engagement and marriage story how everything went so fast. And we will explain that, I promise you we will. So that going so fast, it was great that he got to meet all of my family, I believe, and I got to meet most of his family. So that was pretty cool how that worked out. So him coming to Florida really helped out, and him meeting my other brother and then my 2 step-siblings, stepsisters, meeting everybody basically, and everybody was like, yeah, he's cool, like we like him, he's not a murderer, like this is great. And being able to have dinner and lunches with each other's family. And I remember after you had left, because he couldn't stay the whole time that I was in Florida, and I was so sad the day that he left. Me and my brother dropped him off at the airport, and I was like, this sucks, like what do I do? Like the just missing each other kind of thing. And we had done so many fun things and bonded a lot. And I remember seeing my dad one more time before I left Florida and telling him, I'm gonna marry this man. And he was like, how long have you known him? Like, and we just met him, like almost like that's cool, but like how long have you known him? So I told him it's been a whole year since I knew him, and he was like, okay, well that is quite an amount of time, and we talk a lot, and I just know that our values are the same. And so we did end up getting married, and the next time I saw my dad we were married. So the next thing was the cruise in May. So we were kind of doing every other month. So it was like January, not February, March, not April, May, not June, July. So in May, I came to California, and his family was already doing a whole family cruise that they were doing almost annually, or gonna start doing annually, to Mexico. Like it went to Catalina Island, it went to Mexico, and then it came back. So it was 4 nights, 5 days or something like that. And similar to our experience our first time where we shared a room, we were like, we don't want to share a room. We made it very clear with his family, we don't want to share a room. Where can I go? So it's like, oh, you can stay with my cousin and her mom in their room, or maybe you and my mom can stay together, and me and my dad will stay together. So we're under the impression all the way to the cruise boat that we're not sharing a room together. We get on the boat and they're like, here's your room key. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what's happening? I thought I was staying with your mom. And I think she was saying something to the effect of like, I want to be with my husband, basically. Like, what's the point of me even being here if I can't be in the same room with him? And I was just like, but we talked about this. And then his cousin and her mom, I think they were like, well, we don't really have room. It's only 2 beds in here. And I was thinking like, what? So we ended up sharing a room. It was 2 separate beds, but it's just not conducive for people who want to be pure. It's just all the temptation of like, nobody's around, nobody will know, but we knew. And we were just like, that was a moment where we had to realize that we needed specific boundaries, because getting wrapped up in the moment is just not an option when you have a plan to be virtuous and to be pure and to save yourself for marriage. So yeah, we I'd say went further than we wanted to, but nothing crazy. It was just more touching than we should have been doing, basically, kind of thing. And then after that, we were like, let's get out of this room. So we tried to spend as much time out of the room as possible, and then at nighttime we wouldn't be sleeping in the same bed or anything. So that was that trip. But I met most of his extended family, cousins and uncles and aunts and stuff, on that trip. And then, did you come in the summer, like July, do something? Because you had to come in the summer, like, because we were going back and forth. So it was still back and forth. And then that leads us to September. This was getting really hard. Being in long distance is a very difficult thing to do. I love him very much, falling more in love with him even to this day. And so, especially being courting, and like I said about wanting to maintain that purity and that virtue, it's staying at each other's family houses. We're not that far apart. We're spending a lot of alone time together because we're trying to soak in every moment. And then it became a thing where I'm just like talking to my mom. So I talked to him first, and I was just like, okay, hypothetically speaking, what would happen if we got married the next time you came? So this was September, is when he was already planning to come again.
And I would say at that time, a lot of hypotheticals that she mentioned on the phone ended up being things that actually happened.
I don't remember any more hypotheticals.
The hypothetical, I think, was if you had a layover.
Oh.
And I was like, hypothetically, if I had a layover this, and then it grew into this thing. Hypothetically, if we got married, what would that be? And
so we talked about it and we prayed about it, and then we went to our parents with it. So my experience was, I didn't know how to bring this up to my mom because I'm like, this is kind of a big deal. I'm at Ross with my mom, looking at clothes and shopping. I don't know what told me this is a great moment to spring this on her. So she's looking at their clothes and we're talking, and I was just like, so what would you think about if the next time Jerrell came in September, and it might have already been August at this point, what if we just got married? And she fell into the clothes. She literally fell out into the clothes rack. I was like, what? And she's like, okay, stop. And I think we just like left the cart, or like, I don't think we bought anything. We walked out of the store, sat down, and she's like, what do you mean? So I talked to her about it, just the issues with like temptation, and even just like, we know we want to be together. Nothing career-wise or anything is keeping me here. Like, I have to be here. I'm not going on to school. My job is barely giving me any hours, and I just want to start my life with my husband. And initially we thought about having a long engagement just because that's what people do. It wasn't because we wanted to. It was just like, well, people will take it more seriously, or this is what people do. They take their time. But most people aren't necessarily living 2,500 miles apart and waiting on God to be married and bringing the right spouse. So we just feel like if God brings your spouse to you, then now we know if God brings a spouse, he'll give you instructions. And sometimes he's like, here's your spouse, start meeting each other's family, figure out all the logistics, and like
swim
and have sun coming through the stuff. Wow. So that was my side of that conversation. So how was it for you talking to your parents?
didn't mention it at all. No.
You just snuck away.
I remember the conversation with my dad. It was like, hypothetically, this is an idea that we had if we did this on my next trip, because I told him I was going. If it was happened to have a wedding on that trip. He's pretty laid back about everything, so he was like, well, are you considering all your options? You making sure you're not rushing in?
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people thought we were rushing because like we had a pregnancy scare or something. Like, is this why? But I don't remember him asking. I don't remember him saying that. But he was just like, I'm supporting whatever you want to do. Just make sure you think it through. Like, last minute, they were like, maybe we can move some stuff around and we can be there. And that was exciting. I was like, great, because we wanted them to be there. It was last minute, and we knew it would have been difficult. Things fell through with them last minute. They couldn't make it. So they were bummed out by that, but they were still supportive. They knew me and they knew my character, so they were supportive of it.
Yeah, which, looking back on it, it seems so bizarre and crazy that it happened, because I definitely did feel very heavily, even just in my spirit, like getting married needed to happen sooner, like basically as soon as possible. And like he said, people thought we were pregnant. I had a friend literally ask me like, yeah, you went on a cruise like a couple months ago and now you have to get married. Like, what happened on the cruise? And I was just like, first of all, rude. And second of all, it's not like that. But I can understand looking back, like, it's crazy, and I'm not the type of person to do anything rash last minute. I like to weigh out my options. I like to know exactly what's happening. So even for us, the whole relationship was kind of just like being prompted by God, where it's like, meet each other's family, do this, wrap up things with work, and everything was kind of just ramping up month after month. So we just kind of took it as God was leading us, and I think it was a supernatural spiritual thing that our parents were even on board. Like you said, we're not those people to just be doing crazy stuff last minute. For me, it had always, and I even talked to my mom about this, because she's like, you're not gonna have the dream wedding you wanted. And it's like, I know, I didn't feel great about that, and it's not like, I guess you could plan a wedding in a matter of weeks, but that wasn't my focus. It was just like the actual getting married process. So we were just like, okay, we're gonna see kind of what happens day by day. So when I was talking to my mom, one of the things she did bring up, like I said, was you're not gonna have the wedding, you're not gonna have this. And I remember in my spirit also feeling like, I understand that a lot of people put much emphasis on the celebration, on the ceremony, which is not a bad thing, because it is something to be excited about. But also I was just like, the excitement for me just to be married to the man I love outweighed all of that. And I was like, we can have a wedding anytime we want to. This is our ceremony. This will be the only ceremony that we have, because once you're married, like, you get married one time for us. So we did end up having receptions afterwards. Like, I did in Hawaii have everybody who wanted to come to like the place that we got married at, and that was really cool. And then later when I went to California again and we were already married, his parents planned a whole reception for us, and a lot of friends and family came, and that was cool. So we still kind of got to have those experiences. It was just very unconventional, and something that I'm not saying everybody should do. But even after we did that, a lot of other people were kind of telling me like, yeah, my cousin did that. Like, they got married, they wanted to get married, and they got married, and they had a celebration later. And I remember telling my mom even, like, I look forward to the day that when I do go up in front of a bunch of people, say my vows, have the ceremony, that I will have been married to him for a while, and it'll just be even that more special. Like how some people have the renewal ceremonies and the recommitment vows, and like, you've been together, you've grown up together, and you're just like, yeah, this is really, really what I want to keep doing, and I'm glad that I get to experience this with you. And it's not that I hope this works out, this might work out, making a promise that I maybe can't keep, but it's, we know that this is what we want, this is what we're going to do. Because we've met people, unfortunately, who have had the whole wedding, spent tens of thousands of dollars, and 6 months later, the whole marriage is dissolved. 4 months later, whole marriage is dissolved. And that's really sad that as a society and a culture in America, there is so much emphasis not on preparing for your relationship, but preparing for your wedding day. So there's nothing wrong with celebrating, but there are a lot of people who just, you're kind of just let loose into marriage, and you don't know what to expect. You don't have the proper community and people helping, and it just is like, you had a great party, now try to figure it out. But we had fortunately help with our family being supportive and them wanting to still celebrate us and being with us through this 10-year journey basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our whole dating process. I guess kind of previewing marriage and having a reception and everything. But we will get more into the last minute engagement that he had to plan and our wedding day and being long distance married for a few months and all that stuff. So that's it for today. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I had some things that I think didn't come out when we were talking about the segments,
Okay.
but I don't know how they'll fit in. Like you mentioned, God like working things out in our trips and through our relationship. We didn't plan on having me go meet your family in Florida. That was very much, this is happening, so it's gonna happen. And it was like very much good and necessary, because I wouldn't have wanted to have that, even the ceremony we had in September, if I didn't even like meet your brother and your dad and even like your relationship with him yet. Like we didn't know if I would see him in that time because of it had been a while since you guys had been close. So everything working out, like God making that opportunity so that when we decided to get married in September, we had already met each other's family. And I think the lesson that we learned on the cruise was that we did have some boundaries in place, and we had to like set new ones and reestablish and shore up some things. But it's a lesson that we were talking about recently, where it's important when you do have standards to not let outside people's choices or opinions put you in a situation that you don't want to be in, or a situation that could be harmful or detrimental to you. So even though we planned to not be in the same room and the situation changed and the circumstance went the way it did, I think in hindsight, the thing that we could have learned and that I would want to share with people is that even if people put you in a situation that's dangerous to your walk or your faith, then you don't have to accept it. And at that time, we didn't know, like, I guess this is what's happening. There's two beds. It's going to be okay. We had a no door closed policy for us, but people put us in this thing, so I guess we have to work with it. And like in hindsight, with how important that was, maybe it was we force our way into another place, or you take a nap when you sleep, and then I'll be out eating or something, and then I'll come back, because I mean the cruise is always open. So there's, I don't know, there's maybe ways we could have tried to do it better, but it's like learning when you're young and in love and having standards and then sticking to them, and there's a lot of opposition against that.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes we assume people are on the same page, and especially if they say they are and they're like, yeah, for sure, and we're making plans for you guys. I think it really just threw us for a loop that you can plan as much as you can and coordinate and do all that you can, and then sometimes, like he said, last minute there will be things. I honestly don't know what we could do besides barge into someone's room or make them do something, but it's like I don't want to separate his parents on a cruise, and I guess there's no room for me over here where I'm going to sleep on the floor. But I don't really know what we could have done besides me not being on that cruise to not be in that situation, honestly, because it's not like we could even afford to be like, we're just going to get whole nother room. I don't know what would have happened. But either way, it was also, I guess, helping to fortify even the decision we made to be married, because if we want to be going back and forth, we want to travel together or do things, we can't really count on other people. And it's not even their job, really, to be like, we're setting these boundaries, you do something to go out of your way for that. Like, we either just don't travel together or we get married. And like, it was fine. We got to start traveling as soon as we got married and be in the same hotel room, and it wasn't a problem, and it was fine. But yeah, those are good points that you brought up. So if you have any kind of stories of your relationship, how it was kind of unconventional, or if you have more questions about what we said today, leave a comment. I'm glad that you guys are here on this journey with us. It's kind of fun going down memory lane and surfing on the memories. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. I will be continuing this series next month when we talk about our engagement and wedding. That'll be the last installment of this 4-part series. And on Wednesdays and Sundays, I am here. So if you want to see more videos on Wednesdays and more God-centered videos on Sunday, go ahead and click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to also click on the notification bell so that you will be updated every time that I upload. And I will see you later, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Your legs are so open. Go more to that side of the chair. There
To
we
what
go.
side? This side?
Yeah, just being in the middle of it. Hello, it's us.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to. Are you even ready?
I am now.
Okay, I'll start over. Here with.
Jerrell. You gotta do it again. I had some in my throat.
Hello. Do I have lipstick?
A little bit more, I thought.
Third time. But I was.
Maybe.